iBookTube. So I'm here to do my weekly wrap up, and I read quite a lot of books, even for me. I added it up, and I've read 13 books. One of them was rolled over from October actually, because in November I was only reading nonfiction, and so the one book that was rolled over was a poetry collection. Goblin Market, A Tale of Two Sisters by Christina Rossetti. And turns out my collection, I only had like 3 poems left to read, and I didn't check, I didn't realize it, and so I could have easily have finished this in October, but I didn't. So this is, I mean, yes, I read 13 books, but really 12. I'll say, I mean, but I did finish this one, so yeah. But still, 12 books is a lot. A lot of them were audiobooks, because the audiobooks, because I'm reading a lot of like Christmas stories, and they tend to be shorter, and so I'm able to listen to them in like a day and a half. And so yeah, I read a lot of those. But anyway, so the Goblin Market. This was my first poetry collection by Christina Rossetti, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I'm not a big poetry reader. I've only read, I think, one other poetry collection this year, and that was back in like March or April. But I'm happy to have given this a go. This is a lot about nature and family and death. It's in there quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, it felt kind of repetitive because a lot of the things she kept bringing up again and again in a different way. I mean, the poetry was good. It's just hard for me to judge because, like I said, I don't read a lot of it, and so yeah. But I did want to kind of like broaden my I don't know, genre choices for Victober, and so I've seen it. I saw a couple of people mention this collection, so I wanted to give it a go, and I'm happy I did. But yeah, it's not exactly what I want from poetry. I don't know. And then the next one I read was also a rollover in a way from October, but it's one that I placed a hold on my library, but I didn't get it in time. I didn't get it till now, actually, in December. So yeah, it's a popular book. This is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. And I'm pretty familiar with Rainbow Rowell. I read her a couple of years ago. She has written Carry On and Eleanor and Park, I think is the name, and Landline, and a couple other ones. But I think this is her, maybe not her first, but it's the first for me graphic novel that I read. And this was delightful. It's but it's not something I'll probably want to reread because the story was pretty simple. But it's just the atmosphere. It's all about these two characters who they every year they work at this like pumpkin patch, and so there's lots of like carnival atmosphere. There's ponies, and I mean it's not ponies. I might be like mixing that up with my experience with carnival. But anyway, so they had like kettle corn, and there's s'mores and pies and things like that, and pumpkin patches and hay rides, and so the ponies might be, I don't know, it might be in my head. Anyway, so this is about these two characters who it's their last year working at the pumpkin patch because they're going to go off to college, and so the main character, this guy, he has been infatuated with another worker at the pumpkin patch, but he's never talked to her. And so, with the help of his friend, she's like pushing him, like, this is your last chance to talk to her, and so you should do it, so you won't keep rehashing it in your mind of, oh man, I should have talked to her. And so it's their adventure going throughout the whole park, because every time, she works at this one vendor, and so they go over there, and actually no, she got pulled to this other place, and so they're like kind of chasing her throughout the park. And so you get glimpses of all the stands and the craft area and all of that, and so you get to experience it through them trying to find her. And so it's about their friendship and their journey through the park. And so it was a really simple story, but just the atmosphere was really nice. I actually looked up in my area if they had anything like this, because in California they had this really nice like apple orchard that was turned in, like it was apples, and then later in the season it was pumpkins. And but yeah, in this area they didn't have anything, at least not close by, and so I was disappointed. But yeah, I'll have to look up next year for finding this. But yeah, this was a nice read for October. I don't know about December, but yeah, in October. And then I read the Christmas Note by Donna Van Leer, and This is one that I got from my library that I was just looking. Maybe you can pick that up, kind of, sort of. The Christmas Note. This is about. So yeah, I picked these. I have known nothing about this book prior. It looked like a Christmas book. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And so this is about two neighbors. One is like I can't remember their names. So I'm just gonna. Y'all know I'm horrible with names. But so there was one character who is like a grouchy neighbor, and then this the main character is new to the area, and so she tries to make friends, but the other neighbor is not having it. But someone approaches the new neighbor and says, I've been trying to get hold of the grumpy neighbor, but she isn't contacting me. So I need you to go tell her that her mother has passed away, and you need to clean out her house. And so through them cleaning, she didn't want to do it. She didn't want any contact with her. But through this like prompt of, okay, someone needs to get a hold of her, and so you're right by her, so you should try and communicate with her. So through their adventure of cleaning out the house, their mother's house, they form a friendship. And so yeah, this was a nice Christmas story. Maybe not one that's as memorable as I would like, but it was still good. I then read Merry and Bright by Debbie Maycomer, and this is one I've seen a couple times mentioned. If I make it bigger, a couple times mentioned here on BookTube, and this I liked the description of it because people were, I can't remember who exactly was talking about it, but they were saying that this is very similar to You've Got Mail, and it's about Mary, and they misspelled her name. Her name was Mary, but so it's Mary, like Christmas Mary. And so anyway, she's a temp in an office, and Bright is the boss, and he is super grouchy. He's not in the Christmas spirit, and Mary is all about Christmas and family get-togethers. But Bright, he isn't, and so their interactions aren't that good. Like the first interaction they really have is she decorates her desk for Christmas, and he comes by and he's like, "Did you read the handbook? You're not allowed to decorate your desk." And so she takes all the decorations down, and she's like, "Oh, well, you're really grumpy." But so she goes home, and for her present, her family decides to give her the gift of a dating profile. And so her family sets up her profile, and so they put a picture of a dog on the cover. So that way the mother's like, we don't want men to contact you or like you just based on your looks. We want you to be sought after for your personality. And so so yeah, she's like, oh, okay, maybe, I don't know, I'll give it a go. And then Bright, his best friend, found out that the best friend is engaged through this website from an old friend he reconnected with. And so he was like, because since he was kind of losing his best friend, he's like, well, maybe I should try and see if I can find someone. And so he just scans it, and he sees this picture of a dog, and he's like, well, that reminds me of the dog I used to have as a child. And so he puts a picture of his dog on the profile. So, of course, they meet, and but they don't know they're working with each other. And so they form a friendship online, and then, of course, they'll come together in the end. But, yeah, it's exactly like You've Got Mail, just in a different setting and in different characters. A little bit different tweaks here and there. But, yeah, it's basically the same storyline. And then I read One Day in December by Josie Silver, and this is set in UK. You have the red double-decker bus there, and this is so it's One Day in December. The woman is I don't know where I'm pointing. The woman is in a bus, because the bus plays an important part, and she's just riding along, and she just happens to look out the window, and she sees the guy sitting at a bench reading a book. And they just happen to glance at each other at the same time. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, come, you're my soulmate. She's like looking out the window. And so he's like, gets up and he wants to go and meet her. It's like, love at first sight. But the doors close and the bus goes on. And she's like, oh, I wish I could find my, my bus guy or whatever. So she talks with her friend. And so she's like, she keeps looking out for him in the town, but she can't find him. And then come to find out, a couple months later, he is, the guy is dating her best friend that she was talking to him about. And so she noticed who he is right away, but she doesn't say anything to the friend because, the friend is dating him. And so it's kind of like a love triangle. and at the beginning, and I was like, I really don't like reading about love triangles. I don't understand them at all, really. But I got past that, and I kept going with it, and it actually turned out really. It was a pretty good book. It wasn't like a top favorite book for me, but it was pretty good. It was so yeah, and so they meet throughout their whole life, basically. So it's like a long expanding time with that one. The next one is one I just adore. This is In Your Dreams by Kristen Higgins. And this is an author for sure I'm going to be picking up more of. Let's see if you can. There's a dog in the picture. Maybe you can. Let me see if I turned the brightness down, but I think it like automatically, I don't know, like resets itself or something. And so, is that better? Yeah, okay, now you can see the dog. Because she does have a dog. It's named Sarge. It's a German Shepherd. Because she's a cop, and so she's like she got a puppy, and she's training him to be a police dog. So anyway, and this one, it's if anyone's read The Honeymooners, it has that similar storyline welded into the story. And what I like about Kristen Higgins is she gives a lot of background to the characters. Like most of the time, you're introduced to a character in a romance, and you get what they're doing now, and then it moves on. But she gives a good chapter for each of the characters on what they were like in the past, like how did they become who they are today. And so the woman, the main character, she grew up with a really bad stutter, and so she makes a friend in middle school who had a problem with being overweight and being shamed for that. And so they both kind of like bonded over, being awkward in school and being bullied. And so they get together, and but then the guy gets fit, and he's like, and he has a whole new life and breaks up with her. And then the guy, he meets this like charming Southern belle, and then his new wife cheats on him because she's all about the money, and she thought he was rich. But when she got into the situation, she realized, oh, you can't buy me everything I want, and so then she scopes out the town and finds like the wealthiest guy in the town and hooks up with him, and so they divorce, and so he's like heartbroken. He doesn't trust anyone, and she has problems because she was almost cheated on as well with him, the guy splitting off and making this new life being a fitness guru. So anyways, but so to bring it back to the story, bring it back to how they get together, is that she gets invited to her ex-fiance's wedding, because like through family connections, they're still friends. So she gets kind of like dragged into it, but she doesn't really want to go. She especially doesn't want to go alone. And so she decides to bring in this guy, just a friend, to kind of pose as a made up pretend boyfriend. And so that's how it's like the Honeymooners. And so they go off to the wedding, and then somehow she's instead of saying it's a boyfriend, she says it's my fiance. And so it was hilarious, the whole scene there when she's trying to pretend that they're in this relationship. But so anyway, they make her way back to their town in their real life, and they slowly and surely come to form a relationship. But yeah, this story was just great. I'm gonna pick up more from her. This was my first book by her. But yeah, it was really good. Sorry for these long explanations. I feel like this video might go on for a while. Because like I said, I read so many books, and I do want to give them, some attention instead of just like saying their name, or, their title and moving on. So yeah, the next one is Winter Street by Ellen Hilderbrand. Hopefully you can kind of sort of pick that up here. And one second, let me refresh my memory on what it was about. I read so many books, I'm like, they all kind of blend together. Okay, so this one was like a family drama, and it was kind of, I listened to this on audiobook, and it was kind of confusing because there were so many different characters. The main character is my dog Tucker. The main character, Kelly, which is a male character, he is has a brood of family coming in on Nantucket, and with his new wife Mitzi, who when he comes into the house to reopen it for the season, his new wife is sleeping with Santa, and so it starts off with him already devastated with losing his wife, and so but the children, his grown children who are coming in, all have these different problems of their own. One of them seems to be a really successful banker, but he has a lot of secrets he's hiding, and he isn't as successful as you might think. and other ones are dealing with heartbreak. Another one's off in fighting in the war, and so with all that's going on, then his ex-wife is coming into town, and she kind of like takes control of everything because everything's all hectic. So yeah, I like the story, but I don't know if I'd read it on audio because, like I said, there's so many characters. It was I had a really hard time grasping, what's going on, who are you again, what's your storyline. But yeah, this is a huge like family drama because when you get together at Christmas or any family get together, family isn't perfect, and and yeah, you never know what's going to happen around the dinner table if laughter or fighting or arguing, who knows. So yeah, it was one of those kind of stories. Let's see. So I then read Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson, and this is another one I was going to read in October, but I didn't get it till now. And this is about a woman who she seems like she's having a normal day-to-day life. She has a baby, and she does laundry, she washes dishes, that kind of thing. But she goes to a book club, and one day there is a someone who comes to the town and joins her book club, and the woman wants to play Never Have I Ever, the new one. And so the main character is kind of skeptical on this new person's motives, like what is going on, because it's like normally it's a very casual, low key book club, and so this woman's like ramping it up and like this is exciting, this is fun, join in and do the dares and all that kind of thing. And then come to find out that this new person is, I don't remember their names, but this new person is has some background information on this this normal mother who she's going to blackmail her to get money. And so the main character, she is like hasn't told her family about this, but when she was a teenager, she and her best friend were intoxicated, and they hit and killed someone. And she was intoxicated. She doesn't remember, was she driving or was her friend driving? She's not for sure. It's never really defined. But the new person comes in and it's like, I'm going to tell your family, I'm going to tell everyone, you could go to prison for this, so you need to pay me. And so this is all about them two being entangled with one-upping each other, because this casual low-key mom, she's like, no, I'm not going to take this, I'm going to do everything I can to not give you the money, so I'm going to find out what's your past like. And so yeah, it was kind of like a thriller in a way. So yeah, it was really good. I liked it. It's just, again, it's a weird mixture because I'm reading Christmas books and then I read this thriller. But yeah, it was good. It wasn't like my favorite thriller ever, but yeah, I'm happy to have read that one. And then I read another Debbie May Comer book, because Debbie May Comer has so many Christmas books. It's kind of crazy. But this is 12 Days of Christmas. This is probably going to be my last Debbie May Comer books. It's like literally, if you want to read Christmas books, you could read like all Debbie May Comer books and have like, I don't know, like 20, 30 books for Christmas. But this is 12 Days of Christmas. And this is about a cheery woman who, she's embodying the Christmas spirit. She loves everything about it, even like the hectic travel and the shopping and the madness. She embraces all of it. And her neighbor is a Scrooge. He's grumpy. He's not all at Christmas at all. Not about Christmas at all. And so one day she's going to get her mail, and she sees that he has stolen someone else's newspaper. And she's like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, someone else stole my newspaper, so I'm going to steal someone else's because someone took mine. And she's like, no, that's not right. And so she's talking with her friend, and her main, what she's working on at work is, she works at Macy's, but she wants to get her dream job. And for her job, her dream job is, she did all this interview process, and it's down to her and one other person. And it's like a social media job. And so for this final hurdle, she has to create a blog, and which one of the two is going to, generate the most views and subscribers. And so she talked with her friend, and she's like, that's a really good project for you to do. 12 Days of Christmas, you should kill the neighbor with kindness, because he's so grumpy. And she's like, well, what can I do? She's like, she was originally on her blog, she was just like doing how to create Christmas ornaments, how to make a wreath for the door, that kind of thing. but she wasn't generating much viewership. And so their friends like, this would be perfect for sorry, my screen went black. This would be perfect for your blog to so it's way more interesting than making wreaths. And she's like, okay, I'll give it a go. And so she decides to bring him his newspaper, and he still is not having it. He's like, don't do that. I don't need your help. And then she buys him coffee, and he turns that down. She gives him a gift card for coffee. He turns that down. But eventually, over time, she kind of breaks his shield and is able to actually become friends with him. And at first, I didn't really believe it or like it because he's so unlikable at the beginning. It's not someone, everyone knows he's like grumpy people who even he's like, good morning. They don't say good morning back. They just look at you or not even just ignore you. Those kind of people. So yeah, I didn't really at first believe that, they would become friends. It's realistic. But over time, I mean, it's like one of those sweet stories that, it's like watching Hallmark movies, where of course it's going to, end up, nice in the end, even though, at the beginning they're, really like a bad character in a way. But over time, you understand why he's like that. He didn't have the best Christmas memories, and so he hates this season, and he's just, busy with work, and so yeah, he just wasn't in the right mindset. So eventually, she pulls him into enjoying Christmas. So yeah, this is a good book. I liked it. I like the other one better than this one, the Merry and Bright one, the You've Got Mail storyline. And I'm happy to read this one. And then the last one I have that I read on ebook is Jodie Thomas's Christmas in Winter Valley. And I read a couple of Jodie Thomas's book over this year. And this is another one. I think it's also, yeah, I read I think 3 books in the Ransom Canyon series. And this is jumping way ahead in the series. But I mean, with romance books, I mean, you can do that. It's fine. So in this one, it's all of these books are set in Texas, and I wanted to read. I jumped ahead because this one's about Christmas. So hopefully, it's really bright. I'm gonna see if I can turn it down again. Maybe that'll help. The white background is not picking up. Okay. So for this one, it's following a couple of ranchers who have had this passed down for many generations. This ranch, and one of them is going to Winter Valley to gather all of these wild mustangs to make sure they're doing okay, give them their shots and all that. And so he's there alone. He's roughing it. He's living in a cabin with no running water and no bathroom. And then, when he gets there, he's done this regularly each season. When he gets there, he's someone has been in my cabin, and comes to find out it's this little boy who is all alone. He's an orphan, and so I really like that storyline of them getting to know each other, and the little boy, oh, sorry, my neighbors are really loud. Hopefully, I don't know if that picked it up. They're banging on the floor up there. Anyway, I really like their relationship, and that the little boy really looks up to the dad figure. It was really nice to see him teaching the little boy how do you ride a horse, and how do you take care of chickens and things like that. And then the other, because what I like about Jodie Thomas is, it isn't just following 2 main characters, the male and female in the relationship. It's a family drama. So each chapter focuses on a different member of the town. And so this one, it's all about people who are living in this big ranch house. And so then it's also following the business owner, the business side of the ranch. And he is still trying to get over a lost love who. They were really a really good they had a really good relationship in college, but then they broke apart and they went their own separate ways. But he still misses her, and so he needs an accountant to help. He's getting so busy that he can't keep his book straight. Come to find out that the accountant that he hires is his ex, and so there's a relationship there that was also nice. And then there's a third storyline of the cook who is she's a single mother, and she's raising her boys, and she actually forms a relationship with this cowboy who kind of goes around the town, not even the town, goes around the whole of the United States, working on as a rodeo cowboy with broncs and bucking bulls and that kind of thing. And so they have a relationship as well. So I like how it's, there's a bunch of different storylines in this book. The setting was really nice. It was like Christmas, and I really like Jodie Thomas's work. So if we can see it again, that glare, and it's like maybe over here. Nope, not any better. So anyway, that's the last of the ebooks, and then I read 3 physical books. So I read A Wedding in December by Sarah Morgan, and this I read with several other booktubers, and I was so happy to do this as a buddy read because I've only done one other buddy read, and it was really nice. We worked it up over 5 days, and this is a perfect book for Christmas because we all loved it too. The setting was in Aspen, Colorado, but it starts out when they're in the UK. But so they go, so they're going to Aspen because one of the daughters is getting married, and so the whole drama of the story is she's like the youngest daughter is very impulsive, and she's only met the guy a couple of weeks or like a month or two, and she's like, I've met the one, and but the oldest daughter is like, no, she's pretty jaded. She works as an ER nurse, and she's seen a lot of harm that people can do to others, with stab wounds and things like that. And she's like not sure of everything, and so she was going to this wedding to convince the sister to not get married. And then the other storyline is the mother, who she hasn't told the daughters yet, but she is getting divorced from their father, but the youngest, the one that's getting married, is kind of using the parents as like a symbol, like, you were, swept up in a whirlwind relationship, and you're still going strong 30 years later. But so it all comes to head in Aspen. But the setting was really nice. There's some humor in here. It was hilarious when the mother, she's scared of flying, but so she travels from the UK to Aspen, and so she decides to drink a bit to ease her stress. When she gets there, because also remember, she hasn't told her daughters yet about them getting divorced, and she decides that her and her husband are still going to pretend that this is going to be their second honeymoon. So that whole part was hilarious. How she's intoxicated and she's trying to put on a show for her family. But so this was a really good read. It's like it's a beautiful cover. This is what caught my eye at the beginning. Was this really sparkly cover. I don't know if it's picking up that well on camera, but this is my first Sarah Morgan. She's written another one I really want to read, The Christmas Sisters. This was just a delight to read. And then I read Let It Snow by Nancy Thayer, and this one I did not love as much as especially like Sarah Morgan's, because the main character, her name is Christina, and this is the only character I really remember, like the name of all these books I've read. Why? Because almost every single time that she has a thought that she's thinking, like, instead of saying, oh, I wish, da 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 da, or whatever she has in her head, my inner Christina thinks this. My inner Christina is criticizing me for this. And it drove me batty. And then also, not only my inner Christina is telling me to do this and this, or thinking this, sometimes she shortens it to saying, my IC wishes or thinks or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like almost every other page, if not more, you see IC or my inner Christina. And so that was just like, why can't you just say, oh, I'm thinking this or whatever? Why do you have to put it in those terms? And I was like, stop it. But this is about Christina is a toy store owner, and this is also set in Nantucket, and she's barely making ends meet. She's making enough to provide for herself, but not enough to live in an extreme lifestyle. But her landlord is very wealthy, and he's all about money and making a profit. And so he decides to raise her and all of her friends rent, and to the point where she can't support herself. And but kind of to her strength is she gets into a relationship with her landlord's what would it be, nephew. Yeah, I think that's how it works. Yeah, and how she comes in a relationship with the nephew is I'm getting all the family ties entangled, but I think it's the granddaughter. Yes, the granddaughter. So the little granddaughter, she comes in and she tries to steal a sticker book. And so when the main character Christina first meets the little girl, she thinks, okay, that she's very poor, and so she decides to give her like a little, or come back and help me clean off the shelf, and then I'll give you something. And but then she meets the rich family, when it's like, oh no, we don't need your free gift, we're completely fine. And so like what I liked about this book was the story Christina, her relationship with the little girl she comes into the toy shop all the time to because the little girl is lonely. Her family is not really paying much attention to her. They're all off making money and what have you. And so yeah, the girl is coming all the time to help out, and so I like their relationship. But the landlord was like, he's like the Scrooge of the book. He was really grumpy. Yeah. So anyway, this story, I liked it. I didn't love it. I was like, I don't know if I read it again, just because I enter Christina. I was like, at some point I always wanted to throw the book away. I was like, I can't take it anymore. but yeah, if you exclude that part, it wasn't bad. It was kind of like a Hallmark movie in a way. I probably would want to pick up another Nancy Thayer. She's written quite a few books, but yeah. So there's that one. And then the last book I finished is Stitches in Time by Suzanne Woods Fisher. And this is an Amish story, as you can tell by the cover with her prayer cap there. And this isn't necessarily a Christmas book, but I read the previous book in the series around the beginning of the year. And so this one has recently, when I was looking for all the Christmas books, I saw this one, and it has like a winter cover. So I thought maybe Christmas was going to be in here, but it isn't. It was just like, autumn, like the cold season. So yeah, anyway, in this one, it's following a couple of people who are introduced in the first book. So it's hard, I don't want to like spoil anything, but it's mainly focusing on, I'm assuming this is the main character, Molly, who is a school teacher, and she decides to move to this town and kind of break away from her family and like, be more independent. And so, but she's lonely. She's living, alone, even though she's working with school children. And one of the other, Luke is his name, he becomes a deacon. And so he decides that he needs to live up to his pastor's wishes of deciding to empty out their county's foster care system. And so he made a really big promise, but and so she wants to adopt or foster some children to kind of like help her out of her loneliness and give back to her community. But so she's like, I want 2 girls aged between 5 and 7 years old. That would be nice. Thank you very much. But she ends up with the worst like demon children in a way, who they try to run the 2. They're like teenagers. They're or almost teenagers. They're 11 years old, but they don't act like 11. They act like they're 17 years old. They run away. They try to hitchhike to Las Vegas. They're smoking. They're almost setting a fire in the hayloft. So they're not Amish, but and so they make fun of Molly, and it's all about them learning to tame it down and realize that they don't have to make mischief to have fun. They they actually get involved in helping groom the horses, and so they find like a way to release some of their energy and have some fun through that. And then Molly learns that not to be so naive and assume that children are nice and sweet. There is different ways of teaching and being a parent, other than there's one way. So yeah, there's more in the story. There's a couple of different plot lines in here with some of the foster children. You get to meet a lot of them who are new to the town. But yeah, this was a nice Amish story. It wasn't a Christmas story, but yeah, it was nice. She's written many different series. There's like 6 or 7 of them in here, and they're like all like trilogies. And so this is the first trilogy I read by Suzanne Woods Fisher. But yeah, I like them. I like them because some Amish stories I read in the past, they're just focused on the Amish people. But and it seems, at least in this trilogy, you get a lot of people from the outside, like the English, as they would say. So in this one, you get foster children who are not raised Amish, who aren't, the foster parents aren't, part of the rules of taking them on was not forcing them to follow the Amish way while they're there. And so I like how that amalgamation of Amish and English in here, so it wasn't as preachy or overly religious as some of the other Amish stories can be. So anyway, sorry for the really, really long. I'm not sure. I'll check out. See how many. 35 minutes. Yeah, I think it's like my longest video that I've made. But yeah, I read a lot of books, and a lot of them were audiobooks. I didn't mention the narrator. I just didn't take the time to do that. But I think I read, because I worked 5 days this week, so I think I read 5 audiobooks. Maybe 6. But yeah, that one was a poetry collection. But yeah, anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books. I don't know if this is what it's going to be like all of December, because normally I'm reading not a lot, but I do read nonfiction. So, they're bigger books. But a lot of these Christmas stories or what have you, mysteries and all that, are like, around like 300 pages. And so I can just get through them faster. But yeah, so we'll have to see. Tune in next week to see if I read another 13 books. I don't know. It's a lot for me, because normally I read like around a max of 7. So this is almost double that. But yeah, anyway, talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.